Hello everyone to this tutorial about the regression analysis. What is a regression analysis? Regression analysis is a set of statistical processes of estimating the influence of one or more variable on a dependent variable. Let's say we need to examine the factors that influence sales volume in a company. In this case, sales volume is considered as the dependent variable because it may be affected by one or more other variables. What are the factors that may affect the sales volume of a certain product? It could be the product price, the quality of the product, the customer service, or the store location. What we call these factors in regression analysis? We call them independent variables or predictors because they can be used to predict the sales volume. How do we know which of these independent variables or predictors are associated with our sales volume, and what is the level of influence of each predictor on the sales volume? Regression model helps us to answer this question and find the potential influence in a quantitative level. How? By analyzing the past data to predict the future results. Let's say you own a car dealer company, and let's assume that your sales volume in that company, or we call it target or the dependent variable, equal to Y. And your inputs or predictors or independent variables are price or X1, car model or X2, year or X3, mileage or X4, and so on. Let's assume that the level of impact of each predictor equal to B. So, the level of X1 impact is P1, and for X2 is B2, and so on. We call B1, B2, B3, and till Bn coefficients. The value of Y might be affected by one or a combination of all independent variables. By using a simple linear algebra formula, cell volume or Y will equal to B1x1 plus B2x2 plus B3x3 plus Bnxn. Regression analysis uses the observations data to estimate the coefficients values of B1, B2, B3, and Bn. Because the sales volume is estimated, we call it Y hat instead of Y. So Y hat equal B1 by X1 plus B2 by X2 plus B3 by X3 plus Bn by Xn. Y, which is the actual value, is not equal Y hat, which is the estimated or the predicted value. So Y equal Y hat plus or minus error. In other words, Y hat could be greater or lower than the Y, which is the original value. And to correct that, we add plus minus error. Let's assume that our regression model found that there is no impact of X1, X2, X3, and X4 on Y hat or the sales volume. Or, in other words, the values of B1, B2, B3, and B4 are equal to 0. In this case, sales volume or Y hat will be equal to 0 based on this formula. When we plug in the numbers here of the coefficients, which is 0 multiply x1 plus 0 multiply x2 plus 0 multiply x3 plus 0 times x4, we will get Y hat or the estimated value equal to 0. So in other words, sales volume is equal to 0. and this is something unreasonable. So what we need to do to correct this problem? To fix this problem, we add another coefficient which is b0, and we call it the intercept or the constant to the regression formula. So it will be y hat equal b0 plus b1x1 plus b2x2 plus b3x3 plus b4x4. So b0 is the intercept or the constant, and b1, b2, b3, b4 are the coefficients. And this is the case when we have multiple linear regression, or we have more than an independent variables. And we are going to learn about multiple and simple linear regression in the next tutorials.